Hello and welcome to the very first Ballarat LARP group's instructional video. We have quite a few coming up for you with different weapon variants, but today we're going to be focusing on daggers, mostly used for archers and sneaking people. Today we'll be making two short daggers for archers and a long dagger as a sidearm. I'll hand it over to Dan for the materials.
Alright, so firstly, we've got a pool noodle, which costs about $3 from anywhere, Sam's Warehouse, anything like that. And we've got the grey 23mm electrical conduit, which you can pick up from Bunnings or electrical supply shops for about $7 for a couple meters of it. And you cut it into smaller pieces as you need it. That one's going to be the long dagger, and this one's going to be cut in half to make two smaller daggers. I'm going to be cutting the pipe with the pipe cutters, which are about $15, but they're worth it if you're cutting up lots of this stuff, because they always get nice, clean edges, rather than if you used a hacksaw, which would give you rough edges and then you have to sand them back. For cutting the foam, I'm just using a hacksaw, and then I'm just going to wrap my stuff sleeve around it. You can use whatever you want to cut the foam, it's really easy. This, I don't have proper tools for that one yet.
I've used a bread knife in the past.
Yeah, I've used a bread knife, a regular knife, anything really. So to make it, the pipe just goes into the insulation, which fits fairly well. You need some sort of adhesive to keep it in there, but it's also fairly snug. So basically you just want to trim the noodle to how far you want. So you want to mark up your handle and then leave a mark. I've already pre-marked this one to be the long knife. I don't know if you can see the mark, but it's just in there.
A safety tip that I'd like to throw in, Dan, if it's alright, is that here you can see Dan is allowed just over a centimetre of distance from the end of the pipe to where he's marked his hit the end of his blade. That's to prevent anyone from being poked in the eye by the hard surface in the centre here.
That's right. I can also just adjust the handle. I've also left a lot of room for handle, because you can always make it shorter, but it's harder to make it longer. So, but you can do pretty much all of this inside except for cutting the foam, because that's quite messy. Other than that, you don't need a workshop. Don't need really anything. So what I've done here is I've cut the pool noodle to where I marked before, and then I've just slid it on. And made sure that I have plenty of gap between there where the pipe is. Now after this is going to be a dagger, so I'm going to cut two pieces off before I wrap it in duct tape. This is still testing to see whether we can have it that thin and have the duct tape protect it, or if it'll be faulty. But otherwise we can just leave it. We've got the other ones as just full ones, but we'll test how much foam we can take off and still have them safe and viable to make. So after I cut two pieces off of the foam, the pool noodle, I've just put the thing on there before, and I've duct taped it round to give it more strength. And I tried to make it thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top. It didn't really work out too well for me. I'll have to perfect that. Just be careful with that, because it just needs a more delicate carving than if you use a hacksaw blade. Maybe use something a bit nicer. So for the other daggers, we've cut the other piece into two pieces. So we're just going to do the same thing as we did with the long one. Leave a little handle. This one's only for the kids, so it only needs 4 of my fingers. Then we leave a little bit on the end. And slice it up. Stick it in. So I've still got no pipe showing. So if you get stabbed like that, and then just duct tape we're running low on duct tape, so let's try and do it very quickly. You wanted to stretch the duct tape so that it goes on nice and tight with as few air bubbles as possible. You just want to make sure you don't miss any parts. Just work your way down. If you mess up, just do that. Lift it up. I usually go a half a roll too far at the bottom because I'm going to fold that under. And that'll help hold the pipe in place a little bit as well. So I can just fold that down to hide the pool noodle, and I can put a bit of duct tape over that for later. But that's as simple as dagger. They can do up in 3 minutes.
And with a little bit of the leftovers that we've got, and a couple of mistakes, unfortunately on my part, we're left with some excess materials. Now, I was telling you earlier in the video that we're going to have some different weapon variants. So what I'm going to make now is a Warhammer head. So it's fairly simple. What you want is a pool noodle cut as close to half as you can. This one's a bit of a screw up. And then you just sort of rip it and get it to sit as closely over the pool noodle as you can. Now your hammer head will only be about another centimetre away from the bottom of this one. So you just want to mark that. Cut him out. Okay, so now we don't need this for the moment, and we're left with the central piece, the major hit. This is the front of the hammer. So what we want to do is get some duct tape, and I will duct tape these short around like that, and then add as much chunkiness with the extra pieces to the front of the Warhammer as you can, so you end up with a shape somewhat like this. Okay, then you'll want to duct tape all the way around it to keep it all together, and then you will slide your handle of whatever length you like, whether you want a one-handed Warhammer or a two-handed Warhammer. You slide it in through the main central, the only piece that is still intact. So I'll tape this up and then I'll give you
Colin? What's up? You like it? Is it good? Is it fun? It's a good pain, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Yep. I ain't gonna have anybody.
maybe the kid. Alright, so these are the final product. First up, we've got the long dagger, which has been shaped. You know, it's not exactly a blade, but it'll do for LARP. And it's quite safe. I thump myself with it, no worries. Then we've got the children's dagger. These will be what we'll have mostly available for hire, because you know we don't want to make a whole bunch of adult and younger people's daggers, so we just go with youngers. And this one hurts even less. You know you're struck, but it's nothing compared to just the pipe. The third weapon that we've got is one that we sort of made out of spare parts. It's a Warhammer, we've got the footage of the head, which you'll have earlier, and basically I've attached it to electrical conduit, 33mm. It's a nice thickness, gives you a bit more of a weight compared to the swords or the daggers, but still it's completely harmless, which is what we're aiming for at Ballarat LARP. We just want everybody to have fun and nobody to get hurt. Which is why we will of course be inspecting your weapons on the day, just to make sure that they're safe. I'm sure most of you, if you follow these instructions, will find it fairly simple. And finally, I'll get you to come over here and we will just do a quick recap of the ingredients for a sword. Okay, first you'll need a pool noodle, $2 from Kmart or any of the cheap shops, Sam's Warehouse. Then you've got 23mm electrical, 23mm electrical conduit. Grey, it can be yellow, it can be orange, black, doesn't matter as long as it's nice and strong. Then you have a blade, which we use a hacksaw blade to cut through the foam. Then you've got a pair of scissors for cutting this, which is the outer layer of duct tape. And finally, our most important tool is the pipe cutter. Like Dan said earlier, they're around $15-16 from Bunnings Warehouse, and if you're going to be making quite a few of these weapons, following our videos, you might want to pick up a set of these yourself. So that's all we have time for today. We'll have more videos coming up with some of the more traditional weapons, and also more videos of the more exotic weapons in the future. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you down Vic Park sometime.